Welcome back to What's Your Lion, the podcast where we explore purpose, intention, and the unexpected turns that shape our lives. Today's episode is a full circle moment for me. My guest, Jeb Favis, was my student more than 25 years ago. Yes, I was a high school teacher in a past life. Since then, his journey has taken him through career changes, faith shifts, burnout, and renewal, all leading to a calling he never imagined for himself. In this conversation, Jeb shares how moments of loss, redirection, and unexpected opportunity have shaped his lion, and why he believes purpose isn't always a straight path. Let's dive in. So, full circle, right, Jeb? From being a student and now being a guest to my podcast. It's great to see you and reconnect.
I know I came across your post. It's like, hey, I'm back, and I saw the podcast that you were planning to do. And when you talk about topics like finding direction, yeah, when you call it lion, purpose, or or an intention. So like it really kind of hit me like, what, this actually really kind of tells my story. This is the first time we've caught up in like what, 20 something years, and there's so many major transitions along the way since I was that awkward high school freshman. In those all those years, it wasn't a straight line.
I'll let you tell your story, Jeb. Maybe tell us what you're doing now and the road that brought you to where you are now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So right now I am full-time working in youth ministry. I am the coordinator of youth ministry at Incarnation Catholic Church in Glendale, California. And I've been in this position for almost 2 years now. My job is to create a safe space for young people in the community to gather. I'm also in charge of directing the program to prepare high school students for the sacrament of confirmation. I also am the coordinator of campus ministry at Incarnation Parish School, which is the school that is tied in with the church. I work mostly with junior high students. So as campus minister, I do their recollections, their mini retreats. I also am assistant coach of the seventh grade basketball team last year, and will also be assisting with the eighth grade.
What led you to become a full time youth minister?
After sophomore year, I was like, everything got grounded to a halt because my parents separated, and that was like the biggest challenge for me, and it kind of um how would I say, it kind of threw me off. Like I would say threw me off would be an understatement, but everything kind of changed. The whole dynamic, this whole new environment, living with my grandparents, and having to navigate that. Those were the kind of, in my 4 years of high school, those were like the worst, like in terms of how my grades were, because I was cruising, and then all of a sudden this change comes in. If you remember the Avengers Endgame, it's like the snap, the Thanos snap, and that's it. Everything like goes away, and then all of a sudden I'm faced with this really huge obstacle that I have to deal with, in my personal life, and then in my studies. It's affecting my studies, it's affecting my relationships, and I didn't really have that strong of a support system, that I wished I had with family. Because of course my mom moved to the U.S., and that's kind of what started the journey for me moving from the Philippines. She kind of planted the seed with our family moving. That was when my grades really slipped, and it was really affected by this whole change. I failed math in sophomore year, and I had to go through summer remedial. That was supposed to be the first summer vacation where I would visit my mom, and I was supposed to spend 2 months on a vacation, but because of taking summer classes, the 2 month stay was reduced to 3 weeks. So, but then those 3 weeks, I remember in the summer of '99, kind of turned me around. So it kind of gave me the motivation that, hey, I can spend time with my mom every summer if I do the work. 10, 10 months doing the work, 2 months you're rewarded with a summer vacation. So that kind of motivated me. So that got me back on track. Third year, junior year of high school, that's when my grades picked up. I was so proud of myself, because it was such a huge improvement over sophomore year when everything was in the dumps, junior year, senior year. That was probably one of the two best years of my life. I know you remember my class from freshman year. We were a pretty rowdy bunch. Yes, and we were a very fragmented class. But by the time we were seniors, we were such a close knit group. And we were like a family by then. Being able to have that close group of friends, we're like family. And then college came, and sort of like it was also a time when I was doing so well. I was living the typical college life. I was going to parties, hanging out with friends, and was just living living that life of a college kid. But at the same time, I kind of lost track of the faith also, because of course that whole thing with my parents separating was really kind of tested my faith and kind of forced me to ask some of those existential questions, like, well, God, why are you doing this to me? What's going on? And then I would still go to the US, visit my mom every summer vacation. And then senior year, remember 2004, I was visiting here with my mom, and there was one of those rare moments where I had my uncles who were already here. They already migrated here, so that group of the family that was here was getting bigger. And so my mom was like, one Sunday, she was like, you know what, all of us are here. Let's all go to church. For me, I stopped going to church. I'm like, okay, all right, I'll go with you. And then so we went to St. Brendan Church in LA. I went there, and as soon as I get there, like I felt this whole community that was very welcoming. You had people, hey, welcome to our parish. Here's our bulletin. This is what we have. So of course I have that. My God, this is such a great community. And as soon as we get into church, the hymn that plays is "All Are Welcome." So after that, every Sunday for that 2 month summer break, we would go to church, and I would always feel that sense of welcoming from the parish. So before I left for my senior year in the Philippines, I told myself, you know what? If ever I do move to the US, I'm gonna give back to this community. So it so happened I finished college. I worked for a year in my dad's business, which is a basketball school. So about 2 years after I graduated, I finally moved here to the US. As soon as I moved here, I went to St. Brendan to my church, and I talked to them. How can I give back to the parish? And one of my mom's good friends, Harry Langdon, God rest his soul, he said, you know what? Come with us. I'll take you to confirmation class. So like, what's confirmation class? And he's like, well, it's the program that we have where we prepare high schoolers to for the sacrament of confirmation. You'll see, it's gonna be fun. So it's gonna be fun. So I'm like, okay, I'll go. So I went one Sunday after mass, and oh my goodness, it was so fun. So like, I'm 22, and these kids are like only 6 years younger than I am, and they're playing games, they have pizza, like. And then what really got me was there was a place for them to have conversations about the faith. So like, they're asking each other questions like, where's God working in your life right now? Like, what's the biggest challenge that you're facing when it comes to, like, when it comes to the faith? So I'm like, oh, okay, this is great. This is really great. So I go there. I'm a volunteer, just looking at everything, and then of course, the youth minister, still a great friend of mine to this day, and a great mentor, and she tells me, come every Sunday. You can be a small group leader, small group facilitator. So I did all that, but this was all voluntary. So the first 2 years here in the U.S., I was on student visa, and I was taking a few courses at LA City College. At the same time, I was an adult leader at in our parish's youth ministry. I finished at LACC, and then I 2012 I got a job in the corporate world here, and I got a job in sales. It was the same thing, kind of work try to trying to work my way to the top. But I really felt around 2 years into the job, it's this, I was already having those questions. Is this the right fit for me? But it was a job where the potential to make a lot of money was huge because it's sales. Kind of worked my way to um, kind of grinded it out for a few years while still doing volunteer work at my home parish. So around 2015 was when that opportunity at in the corporate world arose that hey, this you could really make a lot of money. So that was my goal. Like, okay, I want to try to do my best in this career. I'm already here. So I was kind of blinded in that goal that I wanted to make a lot of money, and just like living, the that Wolf of Wall Street type of, that type of lifestyle. That was my goal, and I was kind of, I was really doing a lot of things to improve myself, to improve how I would, how I would talk to people, how I would just, how I would try to close deals and stuff like that. But at the same time, I was also doing my, my volunteer work, and it was kind of two different paths. Like there was this kind of dilemma that I had, in my in my life, where like, okay, I'm working, I have the goal to make a lot of money, and then I'm doing this as a volunteer. Like, where's my mind? But I wanted to prove myself because of everything that it's gone in my life. I was very competitive. I was I kind of, I had a chip on my shoulder. Like, if you tell me I can't do it, then I'm gonna prove, to you that I can. So I was praying to God, like, God, please give me a sign. And the answer He gave me was, I got burned out. I got so burned out. 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, those 4 years, I was just struggling, like, just I was getting so burned out, like, with the expectation. It was really messing with my mental state. Like, it came to a point, like, I was dragging myself to work, and it was just really difficult. I got burned out physically, I got burned out emotionally, mentally, and then COVID hit. Another transition, working from home, earning less because you're not getting a lot of a lot of traction with with sales and commission and all that stuff. And then that was the time when 2019, 2020, I met my awesome wife, and she kind of got me through, through that time. And I will say this, without her guidance and her inspiration, the spirituality, that it would I wouldn't have really gotten through it. It would really destroyed me, like, mentally and spiritually, to have to go through that. And 2021, we got married. It was a COVID wedding. We had a guest list of 150, whittled it down to 40. I was still, at that same job, and I was really getting burned out. And it was really taking a toll on us, as a couple. Like, there's just that really cutthroat, competitive, um, almost toxic environment already was really getting to me, and it was just really difficult. And the turning point came in 2022. I was driving to work, and I was approaching a street corner. I see this car trying to make a left from the other side. It got hit by a oncoming car, and the force of their accident slammed into my car. I was like, I'm not hurt, but there wasn't really much damage. But oh my God, I'm alive! I survived this. And I was like shaken and trying to recover from that accident. Like a few months after that incident, my wife and I would always talk to her about, trying to figure out where my heart is. And then deep down, I knew my heart was in youth ministry, and I was still doing that, every Sunday. But there was no openings. I really wanted the career change by this time. Until July 2023, I was looking at the Archdiocese of Los Angeles website, and I see the opening, coordinator of youth ministry, Incarnation Catholic Church. So, oh, okay, this might be the answer I'm looking for. And then Incarnation responded to my email a few days after. So it was their associate pastor, Father Ramon, telling me, you know what? Oh, yeah, we can do a one-on-one interview via Zoom if you want. And I did the Zoom interview for the initial interview at Incarnation in my car on my lunch break. I was there, yeah, and I was on Zoom with Father One. We had, and didn't feel like an interview. It was such a great conversation. So I'm like, I came out of it. I'm feeling okay. I think I feel good. I feel good about this. So 2 weeks pass and I don't hear from them. So I call Father Ramon again. I say, I left a voice message. I say, Father Ramon, are you still hiring for the youth minister position? And he came back to me. Say, yeah, we're still hiring, and I'll schedule you for an interview with our pastor, Father Riddell. And so a few days after, okay, we want to see you on August 7th. I'll remember that date forever. August 7th, 2023. We'll come to Incarnation for an interview. So I come in, I meet their pastor for the first time, and I meet two of their deacons. One of them was Deacon Dominic. He was former youth minister, and one of them is Deacon Michael, the parish business manager. So I come in, I sit down for an interview with them, and it felt great. It was just like a conversation as well. They'd ask me questions about my background. So by this time, I had 16 years of experience volunteering as confirmation teacher and youth minister over at St. Brendan's on a voluntary, basis. And the reason why I committed to this to youth ministry, why I did all of those years helping high school students, because I look back at my own experience when I was a freshman, a sophomore in high school. I look back and if I had adult leaders the way that they had with me and my team, as people they could talk to, if I had that same support group of adults who could, kind of, I could talk to and really, help me make the right decisions, it would have been easier for me to navigate that big challenge, when I was a freshman and a sophomore. So yeah, going back to August 7th, I interviewed them and it felt great. And Father Riddell said, okay, we'll call you in 2 weeks. That same night, Father Riddell calls me. He's like, hey, you know what? We want you to work for us. That was a prayer answered, definitely. That's why I'm here where I am right now.
That's a beautiful story, Jeb, and it's
Yeah.
it's just so amazing to hear. As
Mhm.
a difficulty in your personal life motivated you to overcome and be the best person that you can be. Now being a full-time youth minister coordinator in in Glendale, what is your lion? What's your purpose? What's your intention?
I think for me, my purpose is to just help young people develop that relationship with God. It's always the challenge for us as youth ministers is to meet young people where they are in terms of the faith. It's like the story in Luke where Jesus walks with two men on the road to Emmaus. It's such a great metaphor. He's not walking in front of them. He's not walking behind them. He's walking side by side with them. So I guess that's my lion. I guess for it, that's my purpose. Like I want to build a ministry that's a safe space. I want to build a ministry where my team, they all have that goal to meet young people where they are.
How do you keep up with today's youth? How do you make your ministry relevant?
I have a solid group of teen volunteers who are juniors and seniors in high school, and they're very active on social media. So our youth ministry has Instagram, we have TikTok, but I told my teen volunteers, I'll give you guys free hand in curating the social media accounts for our ministry. You guys know what makes teens click, what makes them stop scrolling. So I'll give you guys free hand on that. All I want to make sure is before you post it, I take a look at it and I give you guys the go signal. With junior high ministry, so that's grade 6, 7, 8. I took a group of eighth graders in Incarnation School and I told them, you know what? I'm gonna make you guys leaders in the junior high ministry this early. I trained them as eighth graders. They're sitting down with high schoolers because I know they have they're capable.
So if you could sit beside your freshman high school self, Jeb, what would you tell him? What
Yes,
would you
yes.
tell class president 14-year-old Jeb?
You know what I would tell him? Be patient. Be patient. I would tell him the same thing I tell my high school kids. Faith is not a straight line. Faith is gonna take you up. There's gonna be ups, There's gonna be downs, there's gonna be loops, there's gonna be detours, there's gonna be roadblocks. All you have to do is be patient. Also, the thing with me when I was in high school, I the one also one of those things that kind of led me away from the faith is I felt like my prayers weren't answered. But now that I've come back to the faith, I realize, and I always tell my kids this: 100% of the time, your prayer is gonna be answered. That's for sure. 100% of the time, it's gonna be answered. Is it gonna be the answer you like? Not always. Is it gonna come at a time when you need an answer? Not always. You can get your answer tomorrow, you can get your answer 5 years from now, you can get your answer 10 years from now. As for me, I got my answer a long time after. I would tell a 14-year-old Jeb, be patient. As a 14-year-old, I have only one speed. I'm gonna just go. I would tell him, your faith is gonna get tested, but stay the course. That time I felt like I didn't have um a solid support system, but now looking back, I did have a solid support system because I had my family still. It wasn't like I wasn't talking to my mom or talking to my dad. I was still talking to them. It's just that they were in different parts of the world. So I would tell them, you still have a solid support system. Lean on that. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Because the thing with me back then, it's like I never told anyone. I never really told anyone. Even when I was getting burnt out in the workplace, I always put on the mask that's like, hey, I'm strong. I can handle this. But deep inside, I was just like cracking and I was just like breaking. That's still something that I try to tell myself every day. Be vulnerable. And it's hard to take off a facade. It's hard to take off a mask. But, you know, be vulnerable. And I'm so happy that my job is allowing me to do that. Honestly, it's not a job, it's like a vocation. I'm so happy that a lot of people, we're all looking out for each other. Myself and the parish staff, myself and my youth ministry team. I kind of have all those relationships that we could lean on. There's challenges. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. Like I mentioned to you in my initial message, there's no place I'd rather be right now.
It's all these events and all these people that we meet along the way who lift us up and lead us to where we're meant to be or where we're intended to be. So, what would you say to someone who's still figuring it out? Maybe someone who's in the crossroad.
It's gonna click within you whether or not you kind of belong in that particular place. Know that everything happens in God's perfect timing. So if you're at a crossroads right now, good. I'll say that's good because because that kind of gets you to discern. And we've been taught a lot about discernment, and in the Ignatian tradition, when you want to have those moments where, is this path taking me in the path to consolation? Is this path taking me in a path to desolation? If you're at a crossroads, find those moments, find if you're at a fork, which path leads you to consolation, which path leads you to desolation. And that's kind of where you try to start figuring out. But it's going to be a process. It's really going to be a process.
Really, thank you for your honesty, for your generosity, and sharing your story and your time. Your ministry is really blessed to have you at the helm of the ship. I'm glad you're where you are, and I'm sure there's still a long road ahead of you.
Oh,
With the twists and the turns. But if you have your lion clear, I'm sure you'll do great.
thank you so much. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor. Yeah.
That was my conversation with Jeb Favis, and I hope his story reminds you that the in-between seasons, the detours, and even the setbacks can all be part of finding your lion. If you enjoyed this episode, Please follow What's Your Lion wherever you listen. Leave a review and share it with someone who might need to hear it today. And if you're in your own season of figuring it out, take a breath, take your time, and remember, sometimes the journey itself is the lion. I'm Carmen, and I'll see you in the next episode.